Hey everybody, Karim here. I hope you're all doing good. Back here for another video. Thanks once again to everyone who's watched and subscribed. I appreciate it. It's just nice to know that people, some people seem to enjoy what you're doing, what you're showing. When I first put the video out here, I never knew what was going to happen, if it was just going to kind of hang in space. But it's nice to see that people, some people are into it. Just going through some records here. Stuff that's in the to be filed category. Got about 3 crates full of them that just, the whole collection's pretty kind of out of whack at the moment. The CDs, the tapes, I just got to get everything reorganized. A little downtime in winter to do that, but just kind of getting started now. So I've got about a dozen records here or so that I've been listening to in the last week, and some of them I haven't heard in probably 10 years, and so things I just forgotten that I had even. So it's nice revisiting these. So I'll start right in. Etosha, Private Music in the Land of Dry Water by Sanford Ponder on the Private Music label, 1985. Because Dr. Dadwax was asking about this in one of his comments, or asking about this label, Private Music, what would I recommend? This would be a good start, as well as the one I previously mentioned, I think it was my first video, Theme of Secrets by Eddie Jobson. Very digital, very much from the mid-'80s, but quite naturalistic and organic for even being that. Fairlight computer music instrument, Yamaha DX7, very much of its time, technology-wise. But the music's very evocative and quite minimalist. I think similar to Brian Eno and maybe even Philip Glass to a certain degree. So I would definitely recommend this. Any of the earliest works on this label, like Patrick O'Hearn, he's another one. Anything of his would be, for Private Music label. Bel Canto, Whiteout Conditions. I believe this is a group from either Norway or Sweden. I think it's kind of an electropop album. Anneli Marion Drecker on vocals. Geir Jensen synthesizer and Nils Johansson synthesizer and mandolin, among other instruments. The vocals at times remind me of Kate Bush, other times maybe Bjork. And there's one song, it sounded reminded me a lot of Basha, the Polish singer. Really good music. The second side gets even more ambient sounding, with less vocals and more effects. Very atmospheric and just pleasant to hear. I hadn't heard this in about 5 years. Just something I found because it looked interesting, and it was a nice find. Joe McPhee, soprano. Wonderful composer, improviser, multi-instrumentalist, conceptualizer even. Interesting thing about him, among other things, is that he's both proficient on brass and woodwind instruments, which doesn't seem too common. On this one, it's just solo soprano sax. If you like Roscoe Mitchell or Evan Parker, the solo work they do with circular breathing, this is right there with it. It was recorded in a church in 1998. So naturally utilizing the acoustics, to full effect. On the second side, actually, he uses some live electronics to further the technique. But I recommend anything by him, really. I mean, his work is so varied. He did a work called Tenor from the mid-'70s, which is all tenor saxophone. That's one I haven't heard, haven't gotten around to yet. But yeah, he's an excellent musician. Similar in some ways to Anthony Braxton, as far as I think just the scope of some of the things he does. But yeah, highly recommended. Fred Simon, short story. Wonderful piano keyboardist, local fellow here in Chicago on the Quaver label. This was recorded in Evanston, 1984. Derek was showing, I don't know if it was this particular album or some albums by him and others on the Quaver, on this Quaver label, which is a wonderful label. I have a few other ones too. Saw him open for Oregon about 11 years ago, and it was wonderful. did just an entirely solo set, and a couple of them sat in with them, Glenn Moore and Paul McCandless, for a couple of the songs. But if you like solo piano music, this is a really good, good place to start. I believe the Quaver is out of print, but I see a few of these around. You can find them even in the cheaper sections. But he's still making music now. He's still putting on albums on. I can't think of the label now, but he's still, he's still around. Well worth looking up. Om Rashanaha on the Japo Records label. A wonderful album. I've had this for about 5 years, and kind of go back, back to it here and there, and it, each time it's still, it's as timeless as it was. It's recorded in 1976. A wonderful quartet of saxophone, guitar, bass, and drums. They made several albums for the label. I know I have a compilation somewhere on CD which recently came out on ECM, but highly recommend. If you like, I guess you'd call it like a different side of fusion. When you think of fusion, you think of it being highly electric, maybe synthesizer based. This is a fusion that's more, it's kind of hard to explain. It's jazz and rock, but not in the usual sense. But just you have to hear it for yourself. And Japo Records, I'm always happy when I could find this label. I mean, I love ECM. I have a lot of ECM, but Japo I find a little harder to come by. But, excellent group. Scott Casu, Spirals, a wonderful piano player and composer. Been on the Windham Hill label before. In fact, Chris Cole, JC68, was showing some of his work. Yeah, wonderful pianist. The cover, unfortunately, is a little marred by, looks like someone wrote call letters to a radio station. But otherwise, excellent album. This one is quite varied. It has a lot of straight ahead jazz and even like big band aspects to it, as well as the usual kind of chamber world music influence that a lot of his music has. 1981 this came out on the Music is Medicine label. So this would be a good introduction to his music in general, as anything else, considering it has so many different approaches to it. Southwestern Scenarios, Ben Tavera King, really nice guitar player, and the album really is evocative of the Southwest. I've been visiting there for a long time. I have dear friends that live out there, and it really does kind of capture the flavor of the area, of Arizona, New Mexico, and everything. And there he is, accompanied by some synthesizer and a little bit of extra percussion. Very sparse, the guitar is pretty much at the fore. Anything by him I usually like to find. Really tasteful stuff. Mythos by Barry Cleveland on the Audion label. Really nice, evocative electroacoustic music. Very ethereal and minimalist, even avant-garde at times. Parts which have sequencers, really nice melodies, but also just like a pure soundscape. Yeah, the title cut on side 2 is just like that. It's just like a wonderful soundscape. Really good for visualization, if you're into that. This was wonderful revisiting Frank Lowe Quintet, Exotic Heartbreak. I had listened to this like crazy right around the early 2000s, 01, 2000, 2001. Wonderful. Frank Lowe with Butch Morris, Amina Claudine Myers on piano, Wilbur Morris bass, Tim Pleasant drums, Butch Morris of course on cornet, and I think all the compositions, most of the compositions were by Frank Lowe. Ornette Coleman, the first song Perfection, is a composer of. The song Addiction Aid Fiction and side B to me is worth it for the whole album. It's just really funky, swinging group here. 1981 this came out on the Soul Note label. So yeah, if you see this anywhere, if you find you have it in your own collection, don't hesitate. Put it on. It's fantastic. The cover is really neat too. It's kind of looks like a overlaid stitchwork. Different kinds of fabrics overlaid. Very interesting. Yeah, wonderful hearing this again. Susan Muscadella, Rainflowers. The cover would indicate in the title that it would be like a very impressionistic, ethereal album, maybe on Sonagaya or Narada label. It's actually a very solid jazz fusion record on the Pacific Arts label. I think it's the late 70s. I couldn't find a year on here. I think it may be 79. And there she is, a wonderful keyboard player, piano, synthesizer. It sounds like there's like a lot of ARP string synthesizer stuff. It's kind of shimmering, transparent strings in the back. Really nice. Reeds, percussion, bass, drums. Yeah, just very solid date. Again, very evocative. Really wonderful, I think, for this time of year. It's very autumnal sounding, to me anyway. But I don't know how I hadn't heard much of her in the past. This is another one I've had for a long time, and it's just, yeah, it's just fantastic. Magician's Hat, Bo Hansen. I know this is another one I saw Derek showing and waxing quite lyrically and enthusiastically about, understandably. I found this about 4 years ago. I'd never heard of him. It looked interesting. I liked the cover. The music and the cover definitely go hand in hand. He's a wonderful multi-instrumentalist. I think this music really goes beyond what could be called prog or fusion. I mean, it's kind of in its own echelon. So I can understand why he was so enthusiastic about it. I see Bobo Stenson's on here, electric piano. I'd forgotten about that. On the famous Charisma label, 1973. But yeah, this is real, call it imagination music. I mean, it really is, you know, it does evoke imagery and just wonderful playing. You know, really hard to define, which is, you know, just what I love about music in general, which you can't categorize and really isn't meant to be. It's just meant to be experienced, and this does wonderfully. Paul Horn in India. Ragas for flute, veena, and violin. It's mainly just him improvising with traditional Indian musicians. I believe this was done, another one I couldn't really find the year on, but done right around the time of Inside the Taj Mahal. You can see that. Really nice. I mean, I think he's epitomizes what virtuosity is, just being able to drop into any context and make it work. So, yeah. Wonderful. This is one I did not know about until finding it about 3 years ago. And finally, Tom Vandergeld and Children at Play, Patience. I have one other album by them called Outpatients. It's either on Joppa or ECM. This particular one is on ECM from 1977. Wonderful blend of like vibraharp, reeds, bass and drums. It goes from being like airy and impressionistic to quite free and I hate to use the word abstract, but you know, there's a point where it's, you know, you start with the theme and then go off into improvisation. This seems to start with the improvisation and find its way toward a theme, at least on the second side. But just wonderful. I want to go find the other one. Probably misfiled somewhere, but this is one, you know, I used to listen to a lot of right around the late 90s, 99, 2000, and you know, I just keep looking, keep finding things that you know, I'd forgotten about. It's wonderful. A journey through one's own collection. What I have playing, it's a little low in the background. Wonderful electronic space music, kind of out of the Berlin school of like Tangerine Dream, Klaus Schulze. Ambient. Let me find his real name here. I've heard him on the radio before. Mike Hunter is his name. Plays synthesizers, guitar, and I believe a little Chapman stick. Kind of a combination of modern MIDI techniques with, you know, just that kind of old school Berlin sound. It's one long piece, just about an hour long, recorded on a show called Star's End, which I recommend if anyone sees it. It's out of Philadelphia. But yeah, this is some of my favorite sort of thing. I'm turning it up a little bit. Kind of a sequencer based sort of thing. Ambient, Mike Hunter. Well, I think I'll do it for this time around. I do have some recent finds that that were in the neighborhood. There's a shop in the neighborhood which is a kind of a novelty shop. They specialize in movie memorabilia, magazines, toys. This Yoda I have back here, if you can see him, replaced my old Yoda that I had 30 years ago, and I found it at this particular shop. So I think the next video I'll feature, they do have a growing record section there, which was really neat, so I picked up a few of those, but I'll show those for a future video. A little different than what I've been showing lately, you know, outside the jazz and electronic realm. So until next time, you know, thank you all for watching and subscribing and everything. It's been wonderful. So I'll see you soon. Peace, love, and joy to you all. Thank you.